A knock echoed through the silence, marking the beginning of something. Unforeseen, a delicate, tender rap that bore no hint of distress, merely a gentle nudge that life continued to unfold. Beyond the serene confines of my home, I strolled to the door in my robe, my hair still moist from the lackluster shower I'd endured that morning. As I swung the door, open my mind conjured images of the mailman, or perhaps a familiar neighbor, standing on the threshold. Yet it was Liam, the son of my closest companion. 19, lofty, somewhat dampened by the sweltering embrace of summer. He donned a white tank top that embraced his chest and accentuated his arms perfectly. His tousled curls framed his face, and his grin held a youthful charm. "Hello, Miss Clara," he said, raising a small box in his hands. "My mother requested that I deliver this to you." His voice resonated with a depth I had not recalled for a fleeting instant. I paused, then a smile broke across my face. "Liamo, my goodness, it has been months since our last encounter." He presented the package to me, and I caught a whiff of the delicate aroma of soap intertwined with cologne, all tinged with the warmth of sunlight. Indeed, I've been quite occupied with my studies and various commitments. However, my mother emphasized that this held great significance. "Step inside," I urged, moving to the side. "Allow me the pleasure of offering you some refreshing lemonade." He paused, uncertainty flickering in his eyes only. "If you are certain, I must insist." He entered the room, and the ease of his movements, infused with an undeniable confidence, left my throat parched. Perhaps it was the manner in which his tank unveiled just enough to conjure images of all that lay beyond. Perhaps I'd simply been adrift in solitude for far too long. I filled 2 glasses and offered him one for a fleeting moment. Our fingers grazed against each other. He gazed at me with his deep brown eyes, a smile playing on his lips. "Your appearance is truly impressive." I must say, I chuckled, perhaps a bit too hastily. This aged robe protests. "No, seriously," he said, taking a sip. "You still possess that spark." The words lingered in the air between us, ethereal and elusive, much like wisps of smoke. Perilous sugary haze. We found ourselves in the living room. Folded my legs, a sudden awareness washing over me as I noticed the looseness of my robe. Liam's gaze darted, if only for a fleeting moment, to my exposed thigh, before he averted his eyes, with a semblance of decorum. I cleared my throat. "How is school treating you these days?" "Uninteresting," he remarked with a smile. "I would prefer to engage in a hands-on activity." I took a deep breath. The atmosphere shifted. Perhaps it was merely a figment of my imagination. Perhaps it was merely my own wild musings. Yet I sensed it. I savored. Another sip of lemonade, making an effort to maintain a cheerful tone, it seems. "You have quite the knack for handling tools, don't you?" "Indeed," he remarked. "Occasionally I lend a hand to my uncle. With various plumbing tasks, in an instant a notion crept into my consciousness, seemingly pure on the surface, yet tinged with a shadowy undertone. Beneath my shower has been behaving oddly," I remarked. "Minimal pressure. Cold water is something I truly despise. Would you mind taking a moment to examine this?" He straightened his posture. "At this moment. Should you find yourself with time to spare?" He flashed, "Agrin, guide the path forward." I escorted him to the bathroom with each step. My robe swayed, and I made no effort. To adjust it, he sank to his knees beside the tub, deftly twisting knobs and inspecting the pipes with a careful eye. I lingered in the shadows, observing the way. The muscles in his back rippled beneath the delicate fabric of his tank top. "There's a leak down here," he remarked, extending his hand deeper into the shadows. "It is likely that a washer requires replacement. Is it possible to repair it?" "Indeed, it seems a trip to the hardware store may be in order." I nestled beside him, drawing nearer than was necessary. Our shoulders brushed against each other. His breath seemed to hang in the air for a fleeting moment. He gazed at me, and this time he held my gaze. Our faces hovered in proximity, excessively silent. His gaze lingered on my lips. Before drifting down the soft cascade of my robe, I ought to have distanced myself. I ought to have spoken up, however I did not. He did not either. The quiet conveyed her unspoken thoughts. "Thank you, Liam," I murmured softly. "What is the purpose?" His voice was a whisper, cloaked in mystery for rekindling emotions within me. Once more he remained silent, has simply gazed at me in that instant. I realized everything had shifted. That night I reclined in bed, my fingers brushing against my lips, as if they still held the imprint of his kiss. He'd not at this moment yet. I longed for him too. I ought not to have. He was a son of my closest friend, youthful, strikingly attractive, inquisitive, yet desire knows no boundaries. And I had just unlatched the portal to an experience I could never shut again. The following morning, Liam occupied my thoughts incessantly. Those eyes of his, those hands of his, the way he gazed at me suggested I was more than merely a mother, more than just an aging widow draped in a silk robe. I stood before them, ear gently brushing my hair, the fabric of my robe cinched a touch, more snugly today. Yet I observed the way my skin radiated, as if it held on to the memory of his warmth despite the fact that he had never laid a hand on me. A knock at the door echoed once more. My heart leaped. Could it have been him? Opened it, and indeed, there he stood. Liam, yet on this occasion, he was not clad in a tank top. He donned a fitted black shirt that accentuated his chest with jeans that draped perfectly in his grasp. He clutched a small, unassuming brown bag. He lifted the bag and declared that he'd brought the washer. "I plan to complete the repairs on your shower." I released a soft chuckle, masking therapid thrum of my heart beneath the surface. "Your kindness knows no bounds." He entered once more, as if he had always been meant to be here. I observed his movements at ease and self-assured. Exuding a subtle power, we made our way to the bathroom once more. The fabric of my robe glided softly against my thighs. His eyes caught sight but chose not. To dwell, he sank to his knees beside the tub, unzipped the bag and began his task with focused intent. I perched on the rim of the tub, observing him intently. I made a conscious effort to avert my gaze. Yet I stumbled. "You keep looking at me," he said, his gaze fixed elsewhere. A smile graced my lips. "Your appearance is quite pleasing." He raised his eyes gradually, locking onto my gaze. "Indeed, you are Aswell." Once more that silence enveloped, the space drawing you in with a depth that words could never capture. "In need of a towel?" I inquired abruptly, rising to my feet with haste. "Indeed," he remarked, "my hands are damp." I pivoted and made my way to the linen cabinet. The fabric off my robe gently slid from my shoulder. I left it as it was as I pivoted. I found him there, nearer than he had been moments ago. Water cascaded from his hands in that moment. I leaned in softly, offering him the towel. He accepted it, yet, rather than drying his hand, immediately he lifted his fingers to delicately brush away a droplet of water from my collarbone. His touch was gentle, excessively gentle. I drew in a quick breath. "Clara," he uttered as if seeking confirmation. I gazed into his eyes. Guilt was absent, only warmth, desire, marvel. I allowed him to continue. Unimpeded, his hand glided to my waist in an instant. His lips met mine. It lacked speed. It lacked any sense of wildness. The pace was languid. Delightful experimentation is surrendered to him. My fingers gliding over his chest, sensing the rapid rhythm of his heartbeat. Mirroring my own, Hugh withdrew. If only slightly, he expressed his desire to do that. "Since yesterday," I took a deep breath. "I have desired that long before you arrived at my door." The confession shattered the delicate barrier that existed between us. He pressed his lips to mine once more, this time with greater intensity. My rope slipped ajar, and I made no effort to conceal it. His hands roamed over me as if I were a novel he had longed to delve into, tracing every curve, every inch, every soft sigh I struggled to suppress once more. I found myself embodying the essence of womanhood, More than a widow, more than merely a mother I was, yearned vibrant in the quiet. Aftermath, we sprawled on the plush bathroom rug, our bodies entwined, hearts racing in unison. Silence enveloped us, neither of us finding the words to break the stillness at last. Liam murmured, "Was that all right?" I shifted my gaze and regarded him superior to satisfactory. "I didn't mean to pressure you," he added. "I told you you didn't. I desired this just as fervently as you did." He smiled, a genuine radiant smile that rendered him not only younger but also imbued with a newfound strength. I suggested that perhaps we ought to keep this to ourselves. He inclined his head, in acknowledgement they simply wouldn't grasp it. I gazed up at the ceiling, if in myself perplexed by it all, yet I hold no regrets yet. I refrained in that cozy, inviting bathroom I rediscovered. Something I believed was gone forever, desire-touch connection, a sensation that transcends mere solitude. It arrived, in the guise of a 19-year-old boy, or kindled within me the essence of womanhood. The following morning, I found myself clad in Liam's black t-shirt. It carried his scent, fresh, youthful, and brimming with playful intrigue. It departed after our encounter. In the bathroom, a nervous smile playing on his lips, and his cheeks tinged with color. Yet just before he crossed the threshold, he drew me in for one final kiss. "Take your time this time around," extended Asif. He longed to etch the memory of my flavor in his mind as I stepped barefoot into my kitchen, his shirt draping mid-thigh. The lingering warmth of his hands enveloped me. The tingling persisted, refusing to fade into the background. I filled my mug with steaming coffee, settled at the counter and gazed out the window. The sun hung high in the sky. The melodic chirping of birds filled the air, yet within me a tempest had begun to brew. What actions did we take? I had reached the age of 56 at the age of 19. Stood on the precipice of adulthood, the son of my closest companion. I ought to have put an end to it. I ought to have distanced myself from him. Yet I refrained for the first time in years. I felt the warmth of a touch truly moved more than mere contact. It's a connection of souls. He brought me into focus at the stroke of noon. My phone vibrated with a sudden buzz, a piece of writing. "Liam, would it be all right?" If I swung by later, I gazed at the message, allowing it to linger in my thoughts for a brief moment. My thumbs lingered above the keyboard, poised for action. I responded in the affirmative. Indeed. The door swung wide. My heart raced the instant I pressed send at 2 p.m. He reappeared in my doorway, a bag of groceries in hand. He stepped inside and declared, "I thought I'd whip up something special for you today. Are you cooking now?" I inquired. Arching an eyebrow, he grinned. "Not quite. Well, yet. I make an effort." I departed, guiding him toward the kitchen. He placed the bag on the ground and extracted pasta, tomatoes, and a modest block of cheese. In that fleeting moment, he appeared utterly innocent, strikingly ordinary. This was hardly unusual. This was our usual routine as he brought the water to a rolling boil for the pasta. I beside myself with the task of chopping the ripe tomatoes. We toiled together, our shoulders brushing against each other. From time to time, at times our fingers brushed against one another as we both reached for the same spoon. Fleeting glimmers, innocuous yet undeniably alluring. "Clara," he inquired softly. "What's that? Did I overstep my bounds yesterday?" I hesitated. My gaze fell upon him. What I witnessed was beyond the mere infatuation of a young boy. A man stood before me, brimming with questions and an insatiable curiosity, and perhaps something more profound. "No," I murmured gently. "You have not crossed anything." We both ventured into something together. He inclined his head in acknowledgement. Yet the stillness that ensued revealed his lingering uncertainty. "I understand that it's not typical," he remarked. "You have aged. You are simply yourself. What am I? Exquisite, intelligent, beyond my reach." I blinked, then a smile graced their lips. You possess a delightful charm. He gazed at me as if there were unspoken words. Lingering on his lips, yet he advanced. Nearer his. Fingers extended, brushing softly against my cheek. "May I kiss you once more?" he inquired, his voice barely rising above a whisper. I inclined my head in agreement, and in that fleeting moment, our lips found each other once more, gentler, this time more unhurried. Exercise greater caution. His arms encircled my waist, and I felt myself surrendered to his embrace. My hand glided beneath his shirt fingers, tracing the contours of his abdomen. He inhaled sharply, and that sound awakened a profound sensation. Within me, our lips met in a fervent embrace, the water bubbling and hissing in protest against the heat of the stove. Eventually, we found ourselves on the couch, plates of half-eaten pasta resting in our laps, sharing laughter over the unfortunate flavor of our meal. Perhaps we should have opted for pizza, I playfully suggested. He offered a smile. "Next time. I'll allow you to take the reins in the kitchen." His hand lingered on my exposed thigh fingers, tracing delicate circles. I remained still. I remained unperturbed. It was something I desired. It was essential for me. "Are you scared?" he asked suddenly. For a brief moment, I paused to reflect. Indeed. Yet I feel no remorse. He leaned closer, pressing his lips softly against my shoulder. I feel the same way once more. The irresistible tug made its presence known, that pain nestled between the realm of innocence and the shadow of inevitable consequences. Yet in that instant, it held no significance. What truly mattered was the sensation of his touch, awakening a sense of renewal within me, as if I were blossoming once more. Vibrant, seeking, adored. No, not at this moment. Yet perhaps in the fullness of time on that particular night, he lingered a while. Before departing, we reclined in the bed, his chest pressed against my back, his breath whispering against my neck. His chin sought mine beneath the sheets, grasping it firmly, radiating warmth and a sense of security. In that moment, it dawned on me, this transcended mere moments. This was evolving into something greater, a perilous situation, something genuine. To all my remarkable Ava Infidelity Stories subscribers, I extend my heartfelt gratitude for your unwavering support until the very end. You are the very essence of this channel. If you find yourself here for the first time, I invite you to press that subscribe button and join a community that embraces the courage to feel love and venture into the unknown. Let us plunge into the concluding chapter. The morning sun filtered through my bedroom, window painting golden stripes upon the sheets. Liam lay beside me, still lost in slumber, his hand delicately placed on my waist, his breath a gentle whisper against the nape of my neck. He appeared serene, so very young, such fragility. I observed him intently for an extended period. This young lad, this individual, the son of my closest companion. What led us to this moment? How did a single package transform into a fervent passion? With deliberate caution, I eased myself out of bed, mindful of the need to keep him undisturbed as I lingered before the mirror. Drawing my robe tightly around me, the gravity of our actions finally pressed down upon my chest. What might others express? What might she express? His mother, my dearest companion for more than 2 decades. What would her gaze reveal if she discovered that her son had pressed his lips against mine, caressed my skin, and breathed my name as I quivered beneath him? Could she ever find it in her heart to forgive me? Liam stirred from his slumber shortly. Thereafter, he approached me quietly in the kitchen, encircling my waist with his arms, and placed a tender kiss in the curve of my neck. Morning, he murmured, his eyes still heavy with sleep, a smile playing on his lips. "Good morning," I murmured, yet my voice carried a distinct quality. Strained, proceed with caution. He observed immediately. "What's the matter?" he inquired. I pivoted within his embrace, cradling his face gently in my palms. "Liam, we must have a conversation." His smile dimmed. He was aware this can't keep happening. I murmured gently. We ventured beyond a boundary, and I find no remorse in that decision, yet it is intricate excessively. Intricate here. Remained silent. He gazed into my eyes, as if seeking something to grasp tightly. You're 19, I remarked, and I am myself. You're not merely anything, he said, swiftly. You have occupied my thoughts ever since I first stepped into your home. His words tugged at my heartstrings, yet the clamor of my fear drowned out all else. What would happen if your mother discovers the truth? I murmured. What if this destroys it all? He advanced with measured intent, his hands softly clasped around my hips. In that case, we shall exercise caution yet. How much longer can we continue to conceal ourselves? Inquired. He paused, uncertainty flickering in his eyes in that moment of silence. An unspoken understanding settled between us. What we shared had transcended mere desire. It was peril. It blazed fiercely, devoid of any water in sight. 2 days slipped away. Refrained from calling him. He failed to send a message. I repeatedly reassured myself that it had come to an end. Yet on that fateful third afternoon, the shrill sound of my phone pierced the silence. It was she, mother of Liam. My heart soared into my throat. I responded, making an effort to maintain a sense of normalcy. Greetings, darling, she exclaimed with a bright smile. Liam mentioned that he stopped by to repair your shower. Appreciate your willingness to allow him to assist. He mentioned that he felt remarkably mature in your presence. It took a deep breath. He was quite the assistance, I remarked with deliberation. Swear that boy is blossoming into quite. The gentleman, she continued. He mentioned that you prepared pasta for him as well, claiming it was terrible. Yet endearing? I chuckled uneasily. He has a point. A moment of silence lingered in the air, and then she uttered a phrase that sent a chill racing through my veins. You know, she said softly, he talks about you quite a bit. Indeed, quite a bit, more than what a mere neighbor ought to. Me breath was momentarily suspended. Can't quite grasp the situation, Clarish continued. But you mean the world tome like family. I place my trust in you. A knot of guilt coiled tightly within me. Faith, that was the word that shattered my resolve. That evening I sent a message to Liam. It is imperative that we cease our actions. His response came with remarkable swiftness. What is the reason? Behind this, your mother is beginning to have her doubts. This cannot continue. A moment of stillness hung in the air then. He conveyed, but I love you. My fingers stiffened against the cold surface of the screen. Affection. My eyes brimmed with tears. That word had not graced my ears in years. Yet, I was acutely aware of the path I needed to take. Then love me enough to release this. I responded prior to its annihilation of all that exists. His last words arrived. You will forever be the first woman who awakened my spirit. It has been ages since I last laid eyes on Liam. Not since that fateful night. At times, I find myself lingering by the window, anticipating a knock that remains elusive. But I recall the way he caressed me, the way he kissed me, as if I were significant in that fleeting moment. I transcended the identity of a widow, grappling with a malfunctioning shower. I became a woman awakening to the sensation of being desired once more. At times love arrives not wrapped in the promise of eternity. At times, it's merely a fleeting instant,